Yes.
Hi, Tom.
Okay.
Andrew Scott from World Gaming Magazine.
Hi, Andrew, how are you?
I'm well, thanks, Tim. How are you?
Good, thanks.
A question I've always wondered about Cambodia is some of these properties on the Thai border are really quite substantial. You go to, I was in Poi Phet last year, there's 10 properties there, there's one with over 1,000 slot machines, there's got to be several hundred gaming tables in that region, and as you say, there are 60 casinos throughout Cambodia. Why do you think the Cambodian government hasn't been more proactive in having a more formalised regulatory system? As you say, there's no DICJ equivalent or anything like that. These properties have been there for well over 10 years. Why has that happened, and is there any will or desire in the Cambodian government to more formalise their regulatory framework over the next year or two or five even?
Some of it, Andrew, goes back historically. You know, I think there was a lot of border casinos, there was a lot of local traffic, and frankly, I think once the new government of, call it post-1993 was formed, you know, it offered both employment as well as an opportunity for taxes. And my understanding, and it still exists, is that whether it's gaming machines, tables, or hotel rooms, that was the original framework in which a lot of these places were allowed to operate, and a tax arrangement was set up unique to each operator. I mentioned to you there is a licensing application process. The licensing application process allows you 1 year, and then there's obviously a continuation. What lacks in Cambodia at the current time is, call it openness or transparency about, you know, who the owners are, whether or not there's uniformity or consistency in tax. We at Naga World operate with a government agreement. We operate with a flat tax. You know, we pay about $500,000 US each month, and that's adjusted upward each year. And that tax agreement's until 2018. Going back to your question, certainly when they look at, the government looks at our success, certainly we've invested both in the community, we've promoted a lot of common goals and objectives for the government, but at some point, whether or not we see an increase in tax for ourselves, that's, in my mind, likely, but by the same token, we have continual dialogue with the government. I don't expect we'll have a radical departure. Why they haven't acted sooner? I think some of it is that if they, for example, they put a gaming tax, it would knock out a lot of the existing border casinos. So I think the government has, in the process of reviewing and taking a look at this, you know, it makes sense to me in many ways to formalize, set up suitability requirements, issue a finite number of licenses. You ask what reasons there may be. Again, you can have all the speculation in the world. Everything I've read about or heard could be anecdotal type of information. Maybe you have people who were in prior governments, existing governments, having a piece of an operation. Always a possibility, but frankly, I couldn't tell you whether or not that exists. What I am saying is that whether you're operating in Cambodia or you were to move into Laos or otherwise, the move for transparency, the idea of having suitability, qualifications, where both members of the public as well as those who might decide on investment, they're all operating from a more even-handed base of information. Frankly, our company was a privately held company by the CEO, the founder of the company. He listed for one reason. He knew that if we were operating in a country like Cambodia that's evolving and emerging, one, you want to build a relationship and invest in the country, but secondly, if you're going to attract outside investors, you have to be open and transparent. You have to have auditors come in and look at your issues, etc. And that's paid off well for us. Combined with the fact that, like I said, Cambodia is not a mature jurisdiction, but they've been moving in the right direction. I just think they need to step up and move a little bit faster. Other questions? Well, thank you very much for your time, and I appreciate an opportunity to speak with you.
I can see your background in legal and compliance have added much credibility and credence to Naga Corporation in Cambodia. I should have mentioned also that he just doesn't come with FBI experience, that he worked for 6 years for the Jockey Club. And I've never met such an impassioned FBI person, but I don't know. I've never met an FBI person, so your passion is definitely infectious. Okay, the finale of the day is about Philippines, the fastest growing country in Southeast Asia. I guess the whole issue here is with the 4 resorts there, it's expected that it's going to be $1 billion in revenues, and it's supposed to equal Las Vegas.